Hi, Amanda.
Hi.
How are you doing?
All right, I guess.
It's good to see you. Did you have any problems finding my office?
Yeah, I actually got lost.
You got lost?
Yeah. I about turned around and didn't come back. I don't like being lost.
I don't either. I'm sorry you had that experience.
Yeah, it's not a good start to my day.
Mm-hmm. What's brought you to my office?
Well, I'm just having a lot of anxiety over the driving, getting lost. I usually get lost. I think, you know what? Where I'm going's not that important. I'm just going to go home where I'm safe. Or pull over alongside the road and I cry.
Did you cry today?
No. I was like, you know what? I gotta come here. I gotta make it here. It's close. It's close.
Well, besides feeling nervous and anxious about driving, when you called me to make the appointment, what was going on?
Well, my brother is overseas at the moment, and he's coming home, and he's actually going to be getting married, which whatever. But I'm his only sister, and I'm the baby, and he didn't ask me to be in his wedding.
How did that make you feel?
I was kind of shocked, really. I'm like, I'm the only sister you got. You should be nice to me. And, let me be a part of your wedding. And, we haven't always had the best relationship because he was kind of one of those people who thinks he knows everything. And usually we can't stand being in the room for each other for more than 10 minutes when we're yelling at each other. But because he's far away, relationship has gotten better. Been able to talk to each other over Skype and, start to actually be siblings. And then he, was telling me he's getting married and, his fiance picked out her, like she has a couple of sisters and some friends. But I was like, I didn't say to him, why didn't you pick me? But, I was hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't quite understand why.
That is hurtful.
Yeah.
Especially when it sounds like that you maybe had some relationship issues in the past.
Yes.
And then things were getting better.
Right, well, I thought they were getting better, but this kind of decision makes me think maybe they weren't. Maybe it wasn't better.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I was just imagining things. Maybe he, could care less.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard with him being, he's in Germany right now. He's going to only be home for about a week, get married, and now he's going to be going off to Hawaii. So I don't get to see him a whole lot. And, I thought, hey, you're going to be home for such a short period of time. You're getting married. Why wouldn't you pick me to be a big part of your special day?
Mm-hmm. Your feelings are really hurt about this.
Yeah, they are.
I think mine would be too.
Yeah, and the more that I think about it, the more upset it makes me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't quite understand.
When you say you feel upset, can you describe that feeling to me?
It's like a deep sadness. Like I just wanna cry and but then I also want to yell and be like, why aren't I good enough to be in your wedding? What's going on here? But I don't think he would respond to that very well.
Well, I'm thinking about something that you said when you first got here, and that was that if you get lost, that sometimes you'll pull over and cry. And then just now you're saying that your brother not asking you to be in his wedding, which is very hurtful, that would make you cry also, but also make you angry. Can you tell me what the experience is like getting lost that makes you want to cry?
Just not being there. Not being able to get to where I'm going and not really, I'm always driving around by myself and just kind of being alone. Mm-hmm. And nobody usually knows where I am. Hey, I might be going to work, but if there's a detour sign, who knows where I'm going to end up? I'd be by myself.
So being alone makes you sad.
Or, yeah, and not being a part of something, just kind of being forgotten.
And you feel like your brother has excluded you and forgotten you in his wedding plans.
Yes.
When you've been Skyping with him and you talk to him about this, how does he react?
I haven't really talked to him about it
Okay.
because I don't know what he's going to say. 'Cause like I said, before we used to argue a lot,
Okay.
and it gets to the point where I just didn't want to talk to him, didn't want to see him, didn't want to look at him. So I'm afraid that if I talk to him about this, that we're just going to start arguing. I'm going to shut the computer and I'm just not going to talk to him. I'm not going to want to have anything to do with him, which would kind of not be good after all the kind of advances I thought we've made in our sibling relationship.
So you're avoiding having the conversation
Yes.
for fear of conflict,
Yes.
which will then be a setback
Yes.
in the relationship.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
I have this idea that sometimes communication, even though it can be painful, can move you forward and not necessarily be a setback. So I'm wondering if we can maybe practice first
Possibly.
and come up with a plan for what you would want to say, and then I could have the reaction that you're afraid of, and you can experience what that feels like, and then I can have a different reaction, and we can practice a
So
couple
that,
different ways that
I
it
can
might
be
go.
prepared
Right,
for what might happen.
right, and maybe that fear will dissipate a little bit.
Possibly. It might work.
But do you ever find that when you're afraid of being alone, that you avoid anything else?
Well, I avoid doing things where I might be alone. Like, if I don't drive, then I don't get lost, and then I won't be stuck in the middle of nowhere by myself. So, try and drag someone along with me, but, that doesn't always work. As much as I like to think that I am, the most important person, that, not everybody sees it that way.
I think you're pretty important.
Well, thank you.
I think you're pretty important. But I hear that you're avoiding other things besides the conversation with your brother.
Yeah, that's true. I tend to avoid lots of things. Makes life easier. Yeah, when you avoid things, then you don't have to, deal with things. You don't have to deal with the feelings and the emotions that come with, hey, if I go do that, and hey, I get lost, or my brother tells me, you know what, I don't want to talk to you no more. If I avoid it, then, you know what, those things just don't happen to me. And
So-
life is, just keeps
Easier.
going. Yes.
So we're avoiding situations that will create emotions that might make you feel overwhelmed or sad.
Right?
So we just don't go there.
Exactly. Just leave it alone. Hopefully it'll go away.
It may not go away.
Well, I'd like to think that it would.
Well, we're almost out of time, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about next week.
Okay.
And the wedding's not going away unless something goes terribly wrong.
Nah, I don't think it's going away.
Yeah, may not. So let's think of a plan. You think about something that you might want to say to your brother, and then next week we'll go through it together. And we'll maybe do a little role play of that conversation and how it might go. And then maybe you'll feel a little bit more comfortable allowing those emotions to fill you up, and then letting them go.
I think that would be helpful.
You think so?
As long as I can can get here, I'll be good. I'll be good.
Okay. Thanks for coming in.
Not a problem. Thank you.
I'll see you next week.
All right.
What was it like for you, Amanda?
I thought she did really well. I mean, I felt like you were there and that you were making some of the connections and then making me think about things that I just didn't want to think about. You know? Yeah. So I thought you did a really good job. I felt important.
Good. Felt important and make the connections that you didn't want to make.
Brought things to my attention that, like I said, I was avoiding things. So she brought some things to my attention that just because I want it to go away doesn't mean that it's going to.
Good reality check. They're not going anywhere. Good. Attending, skills, empathy, effective listening.
I had that. She had good eye contact.
You had.
Oh. You had good eye contact. You did a lot of hand gestures. You did a lot of nodding, and your voice just stayed nice and calm. And you did have empathy because you told her in the beginning, I'm sorry you had that experience. And you also said your feelings would be hurt too. So you showed empathy toward her. But I need to ask a question about the legs being crossed, because that is a nonverbal thing, but crossing the legs is not...
Yeah, I mean, Mindy seemed comfortable.
Okay.
Not closed.
Okay.
Unlike, Maria Flora,
Yeah.
who was, both legs and arms closed, so it seemed more tense and uptight. You
Okay.
seemed relaxed. And
Yeah, she did.
so,
That's why I didn't, okay.
yeah, and good feedback. Those are the things that we noticed. Let's follow with support, actually, and use the silences because what's wrong with that?
You use the silence as well during the avoiding topic to get in the middle. It was like super, super long silence, but it was just enough to get her to keep talking again without you having to ask another question. Did that really well. And then reiterate what you said about the feeling after she had said that her feelings were hurt. And then you also said, I think you are important. So you definitely validated that she is important to you, which is very supportive.
Very good. And with that, let's continue with the reflecting content and feelings.
I had that, Mandy, and you did a very good job on that. Besides feeling nervous and anxious, that was one of your statements to the client. So you acknowledged her feelings, and what else are you feeling? That is hurtful. These are some of the sentences you used. You're feeling hurt about this. I would too. Describe that feeling to me, so you're reflecting how she's feeling and how it's actually affecting her. You went back to the lost. When you're lost, you pull over and cry, and you compared it to not being in the wedding. And that was a reflection of the content of what she was saying and her feelings that she was feeling at that time. And then I loved how you brought together the being alone as a description of feeling forgotten and afraid of being alone. I thought you did a very good job.
Good. Let's follow with summarizing.
For summarizing, I noticed 2 times. The first time it was more towards the beginning when Amanda was talking about the relationship with her brother. And then you, at the end, had said, when Amanda corrected you, you were saying that, oh, so it sounds like it got better. And then Amanda had corrected you and said, and then you guys moved on from there. Another time was similar to what Michelle was saying about you were summarizing the getting lost and crying, and then you related that to the crying about the brother's wedding. And you summarized that.
I thought that was brilliant. How do you get there? I'm not sure. But I was thinking about it. I'm thinking, how do these two, they have to be connected. The crying, the feeling lost. And you did beautifully connecting it at the end, and she got it. Clarifying and interpreting.
Mandy, with clarifying and interpreting, it sounds a lot like what Anna just said, because where you discussed the past issues, you were clarifying, so these issues they got better, and then the client goes, well, I thought they did, and so that prompted further discussion. Also, with the getting lost and crying, you clarified what makes her cry, and one of the things that came out was feeling alone, and then you clarified that further, well, I'm sorry, she said feeling alone and then not being a part of something, and that's where you took the opportunity, which was awesome, to tie that with the exclusion from the wedding, and then you actually said that word. So being excluded from the wedding, that was great, interpreting that there's a connection and clarifying what she had said. And then finally I wrote, you clarified what the client considered, I don't know why I put setup. Did you say something about setup? That's a setup? Because you were talking about, I'm sorry, a setback. Okay. So you clarified what the client considered a setback, putting off or avoiding, and then you equated that with the loneliness, the crying, the sadness. That was really good.
Thanks.
And there were a lot of interpreting. I think that so far of all the sessions that we watched, you were showing interpreting really well, because she wasn't saying much, and you were interpreting what she said. Confronting discrepancies.
Well, honestly, I couldn't detect any confrontation. I believe because she was very consistent in everything, right? There wasn't any discrepancy, so.
Very good.
It was good. You didn't use it.
I think you didn't confront it.
Yeah, right.
You used some reality-based stuff, which was interesting because you didn't use like the exact questions either. So like when you were exploring the avoiding, like you picked up on a coping skill that she had used that she was currently using, and exploring whether or not it was working, and also was it getting her what she needed without asking, is it getting you what you needed? Like, oh, okay, so you avoid that, you avoided it here, and like you pressed through it, so she got to say, yeah, you avoided it, and I just stopped, and she got to explore, okay, yeah, this is something that I use, and okay, but things aren't going away. So you allowed her to really explore what she's done before, what she's doing now, and how it's working without asking those direct questions, which is really, really pretty cool. And also, when you were bringing up the role play, you brought in a little bit of behaviorism when you said, I'll react as your brother would react. So you're going to like expose her to that situation to help her kind of desensitize from that too. So, and I think with reality and with the behavior, I think it was really nice with both of those.
Very good. Beginning, middle, and end, and problem solving.
Okay. So it was really cool, actually, because the beginning you got stuck. And she started it off, she was like, I got lost and everything. And then you kind of got stuck in that little, she's like, you're asking, about, well, what's going on and how are you feeling? I said, well, I'm frustrated, I got stuck, I got lost here and everything on my way. And at first, with that beginning, and then you had to go back and go, okay, well, when you went and made the appointment with me, and you went back, got back on track, and when you did that, it didn't feel quite so smooth transitioning into it, but you later were able to pull it back in the middle of the session and relate it back, which I thought was awesome, and it was cool. And you were talking about how she felt lost and then alone. And once that you hit that, and it was like hitting a nail on the head, and then it just like popped open the session, you could start working into your problem solving. And you started going into some role playing and asking about the role playing, but then you seemed to drop it until the very end of the session. And I thought that as a client, it was a little confusing. Like, why are you doing that role playing and not continuing with me on this?
It would have been a good, especially, I figured that you didn't have more time, and then I saw you go in 2 minutes, and I thought, oh, you're going to leave it for next session. I mean, I knew where you were going.
Yeah.
But it would have been good to have it, 30 seconds, the role play, and not just really, but the role play doesn't have to last that long. It can be just 2 or 3 sentences. But I like the homework that you gave her, you bring in some.
And then you brought it back again, like that at the very end in the summary, and that was really nice. And just like for the sessions, I was thinking, because I realized that it was the timing and everything. But, even saying to the client, when you start talking about the role play, and if you realize that that time is getting down closer in the session, you know, would you be open to this? We may not be able to get to this right now.
Or do it for a long time, but you can spend 30 seconds.
Yeah.
You know, like, doesn't
Just something
take-
like that, you know, and I
Yeah.
thought, but then you ended the session, I thought, really well. And so those are kind of combined.
Very good, and Karen?
I had open and closed-ended questions. You did use both, good use of both when you did use them. Sometimes that might have been too many questions, but the ones that you did choose were good ones to choose.
I agree. It was a great session. The only thing that I wish you would have done just a little bit more, and I think, Maria Flora, you picked it up in the beginning. The beginning was a little rocky. Build on her strengths. But you get here, that you're here. Because she could have, she could have left, she could have not come. She said that she stopped by. And you were hinted to it, but you said, did you cry? And I thought, oh, that was a rough question. So did you cry? Like, and she goes, no, I didn't cry. And then that would have been a perfect opportunity. All right, so you got lost, you stopped, you didn't cry, you made it. Huge, huge step for her, you know. And so that was a missed opportunity to build on her strength. And then that would have made her feel really good. You made her feel really good all throughout because you were supporting her at all. But that in the beginning, you made it. It's great that you got here, in spite of all that. And luckily you didn't, because I would have gone to, well, what made you come, in spite of all those roadblocks? Which is huge. So obviously she overcame some type of anxiety and nervousness and all that. So then she can use that, whatever helped her come, next week when she gets lost again and she stops. Or other situations where she's going to, you know, no, I'm going to avoid it. She didn't avoid it, she came. So, that's good. Excellent. All right, next.
I get lost next week. I get lost all the time.